Okay, guys. Every year I make this long video of me predicting the top 4 teams in the college football playoff. And also, I will be predicting my dream bowl matchups on which teams will go to which bowl game. So, let's talk about what we just saw for conference championship Saturday. But there was one game on Friday night. We're going to start with that one. The Pac-12 championship game between Utah and USC. Utah was actually the favorite to win that game, and they won. And the game was close at halftime, but in the second half, it was pretty much all Utah. Did y'all see that Utah quarterback get hit, that huge hit when his helmet came off and he got right back up? My gosh, he took that like a champ. Man, what a tough quarterback. So Utah beat USC again, twice in the same season. Yep. They're the Pac-12 champions back to back, and they will be going back to the Rose Bowl. So now that USC lost, they have 2 losses, which means they are out of the playoff. If they were to win that game, they would be in the playoff. So, next game, the first game on Saturday was the Big 12 championship game between Kansas State and TCU. College game day was at AT&T Stadium for that game, and that was the game of the week. Yep. For once, the SEC championship game is not the game of the week. It's the Big 12 championship game. And the legend Lee Corso picked Kansas State to win. He put on the Kansas State Wildcat headgear, and everyone else picked TCU. It's kind of like Urban Meyer. He picked Utah, and everyone else picked USC because the game was on Fox. So, yeah, for the Big 12 championship game, this was like a coin flip for me. Like, I did not know which team will win. I was sort of leaning more towards TCU because they're undefeated. They somehow can't lose, you know. And they finally lost in overtime. Congratulations to Kansas State. 2 purple teams, right? The Purple Bowl, the Purple Bowl, yeah, the Purple Championship game. The best part is that Oklahoma's not in it like they are every year. I'm glad that we're not going to see Oklahoma in it. So, no disrespect to the OU fans, like Jim Ross, one of the best wrestling commentators. So, alright. Now that TCU finally lost, are they out of the playoff? No, they shouldn't be out. TCU is safe because it was a close loss. I think even if they got crushed in that game, I still think they would still be in it. They will probably go down to number 4, but they're safe. Speaking of safe, the top 2 teams are safe because Georgia dominated the SEC championship game. Everyone knew they would win this easily. They were a 17-point favorite, and they won by a lot. Well, I'm surprised. Well, somehow LSU scored 30 points, which I'm surprised. But they gave up 50, you know. So Georgia's gonna still be number 1, and Michigan the last game was the Big Ten championship game. Purdue was in it. Let's give Purdue a round of applause for making the Big Ten championship game. Like, good for them. Purdue, they're not a bad team. Purdue is actually pretty good. The game was close at halftime, but in the second half, it was all Michigan. It's just like Utah in the USC game, you know? So Michigan and Georgia are still undefeated. They're safe. TCU should be safe. USC lost. If they were to win, they would be in it. And we wouldn't be talking about Ohio State and Alabama. But we're going to have to. That's why you see their logos on the screen. So now that USC's out of it, we're going to remove them. So now the question is, which team will be the 4th spot? Ohio State or Alabama? Ohio State is the fifth best team in the rankings right now. Because remember, on Sunday afternoon, they will reveal the Final Four and the big bowl games. So back in last Tuesday night, they revealed the rankings for this weekend's. I thought Alabama would be number 5 and Ohio State will be number 6. Like I thought it'll be the opposite, but it's not. Ohio State is ahead of Alabama. I think it's because they have 1 loss and Alabama has 2 losses. Now, who do I want to see? Which team do I want to see in the 4th spot? I want Alabama to be the 4th spot. Because if they somehow get in it, there's going to be a lot of hate. People will get pissed off if Alabama gets in it. Even if Ohio State gets in it, people will be pissed off too, but more people will be pissed off if Alabama's in it. Because they have 2 losses. You know, let's be honest, this is not the same Alabama team that we're used to seeing from a couple of years ago. But that doesn't mean that they're a bad team. They're a great team. And so another reason why that I think Alabama should be in it is that, yes, they have 2 losses. They've never had a 2-loss team in the playoff. Never. And Ohio State, they had 1 bad loss at home against their rival Michigan. It was number 3 against number 2. Ohio State was number 2 last Saturday. And they got beaten pretty bad in the 4th quarter against Michigan by 20-something points at home. Did Alabama lose at home by 20-something points? No. Have they ever lost at home by 20 or more points under Coach Saban? I don't think so. So the 2 losses were on the road, but they were very, very close losses. That's why I think Alabama should be in it. That's what I want to see. And I'll be honest, some of you might agree with me on this. If Alabama plays against TCU, I think Alabama will be the favorite. And I think also Alabama will be the favorite against Ohio State. That's just how I see it. Now, earlier I uploaded the video of the ACC championship game and the Big Ten championship game happening at the same time, the final few seconds in the first half. And then after that, Nick Saban joined the Fox crew talking discussing if his team should be in the playoff or not. So, yeah, you guys can check that out if you want to. But yeah, I want to see Alabama in it. I will laugh if they get in it. But I think Ohio State will be the number 4 team. I bet a lot of Ohio State fans thought after that loss to Michigan, I'm sure they all thought they were done. They were not going to make it. And oh my goodness, thanks to USC losing, they're somehow going to be the number 4th team. So, what I want to see is Alabama be number 4, but I think Ohio State will be number 4. And I think another reason why they don't want to have Alabama in the playoff is because they'll have to play Georgia in the semifinals. And yeah. So I'm going to put Ohio State right here. Okay. So I'm pretty sure this is what most people are going to predict for their for the Final Four, which means Georgia's going to play against Ohio State, and Michigan will be playing against TCU. So later on, we will find out. I will predict which 2 semifinal matches will be in which 2 New Year's 6 bowl games. Alright, so that'll be at the end of this video. Yeah, this video is usually long. Every year I do this where I predict the Final Four rankings, and I will also predict my dream bowl matchups where certain teams will go to a certain bowl game. So yeah, just to let you guys know that it's always fun making this video. And some of them, I do get them right. My bowl dream matchups, some of them I get them right. Now, we all know that Utah is going to be in the Rose Bowl again because they've won their conference. That's kind of all I know. Well, I think Clemson is going to be in the Orange Bowl. Because you know how, like, a lot of bowl games, it's usually this conference team playing this conference team, right? So, you know, the Rose Bowl, it's always a Big Ten versus Pac-12 team. So, anyway, let's now get to my dream bowl matchups. Alright, the first game that I found on the schedule is the Fenway Bowl. That's right, this is a bowl game at a baseball park, Fenway Park. Second oldest active ballpark in MLB. I have Cincinnati versus Syracuse. That'll be an interesting one. Syracuse is the closer team, so they don't really have to travel that far. And I'm sure it'll be a cold game, so yeah. So I hope I can get some of these correct. Yeah, so let's see what happens here. In the New Mexico Bowl, I have San Diego State versus North Texas. It is a Mountain West team versus a Conference USA team in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Next is the LA Bowl. I have Washington State versus Fresno State. Pac-12 versus Mountain West team. Fresno State actually won the Mountain West Conference by winning against Boise State on their home turf. So that's impressive. from Fresno State. This is at the LA Bowl is at the new stadium, home of the Rams and Chargers. So this will be a big game for both these teams. The Las Vegas Bowl. Yeah, I have Oregon State from the Pac-12 taking on South Carolina from the SEC. South Carolina, they are one of the hot teams right now. I mean, they beat Tennessee by scoring how many points? 63. That's a lot of points to score. And they finally beat Clemson, I think, since 2014. So yeah, that's 8 years since they've beat them. And they did it this year by 1 point. So if I get this one right, Oregon State, good luck, because you're gonna need it. Next, I have the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Look at that, Mr. Potato Head. Between Buffalo against Utah State. Buffalo is 6-6, so yeah, it's one of these small bowl games, you know. So if you win 6 games, you're automatically in. Oh yeah, and Utah State's also 6-6, so this is like a coin flip. Although Utah State is closer to this game, so they'll probably be the favorite if this matchup happens. The RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl. I have Western Kentucky from the Conference USA taking on the Sun Belt champions, Troy. Yeah, I noticed past couple of years the best Sun Belt team goes to the New Orleans Bowl, and this year it's Troy. So let's see if this happens. I might get this one right. We'll see. Next, I have the Armed Forces Bowl between SMU and Middle Tennessee. A couple of 7-5 teams. So, y'all remember when Middle Tennessee beat Miami on the road? That was like the first big upset of the year. And now Miami, they're not in a bowl game. They're 5-7. This is unreal. So we'll find out what bowl games I'll have right, and yeah. Next one I have is the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit, Ford Field, home of the Detroit Lions. This will be the day after Christmas in the afternoon. I have Wisconsin from the Big Ten taking on Bowling Green. Yeah. Bowling Green is, I'm trying to find their standings here. Bowling Green is 6-6. Wisconsin is also 6-6. Yeah, you know, Wisconsin, they fired their coach, which is kind of unbelievable. I forgot his name, but I think his first name is Paul. It's the guy with the hat, wears glasses. Yeah, I still can't believe he got fired. I mean, he had a bad start, but still, you know, he's been pretty good almost every year. So, yeah. Okay, next I have the Military Bowl between UCF, the runners-up of the of their conference championship, the All-American Atlantic, taking on the independent team, Notre Dame. Yep, they don't have a conference, even though they should. But this will be pretty interesting here. So yeah, the Military Bowl. Next is Oklahoma versus Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl in I think Memphis, Tennessee. So these two teams are 6-6. I think this will be perfect. This is not the same Oklahoma team from the past 5 years where they're always in the top 10. I don't know what happened to them this year. I guess, is it because they lost their coach, Lincoln Riley? I don't know. But I remember they got shut out and crushed by Texas. My goodness. Unreal. So, Liberty Bowl should be a good one. Next, I have the Holiday Bowl in San Diego between an ACC team, Pitt, versus a Pac-12 team, UCLA. So yeah, these aren't my guesses. I would look up on Wikipedia because it'll tell you which, what two teams from which conference will be there. So like, this one is ACC versus Pac-12. So, the Holiday Bowl, I guess this is what? Is this like on Christmas Eve, maybe? Happy holidays to you. Okay, enough with that. This is the Texas Bowl. I don't have the actual picture of this logo, but in the Texas Bowl, it's a Big 12 team versus an SEC team. And I have Baylor versus Florida. That'll be a very interesting one. Couple of 6-6 teams, so this could be a coin flip. So it could go either way. So Texas Bowl is usually a pretty cool game to watch. So. But yeah, you notice how this video is actually a lot shorter than last year's video, or it's like over an hour. And the reason why this one is a lot shorter is because, if you're wondering what program I'm using to record this video, I'm using OBS, and there's a pause button. I don't know if there was a pause button last year, because I noticed a few months ago that there's a pause button. So that's why. Yeah, I don't have to do all that. I don't have to do all that clicking on video. So when I have the logos and pictures ready, I will unpause it, and then after that, I'll pause it to remove the logos and put the new ones in. So yeah, that's why this video is a lot quicker, which I do like. So the New Era Pinstripe Bowl at Yankee Stadium. Yep, this is the second bowl game at a baseball park. So yeah, Yankee Stadium and Fenway Park, they both have one. I have Wake Forest from the ACC taking on Maryland from the Big Ten. Both pretty good teams. So this is not, it's not a huge bowl game, but it is for these two teams. Both teams, let's see here. Both teams are 7-5, so it could go either way. Maryland is the closer team to New York, so that's why I mainly pick them. The Cheez-It Bowl. Yes. Big Ten, Illinois versus ACC, Duke. And if y'all saw the Cheez-It Bowl from last year, whichever team wins the Cheez-It Bowl, their coach will get dumped by a ton of Cheez-Its from a bucket. It's crazy. Like, wow, what a waste of Cheez-Its, but better than the Gatorade bath, right? I love Cheez-Its, by the way. It's one of my favorite snacks ever, and when you go to the store and you look at, that aisle with all those crackers and stuff, yeah, there's a bunch of Cheez-It flavors and all other stuff. It's incredible. In the Valero Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. This is always a big and fun matchup to watch. It's always a Big 12 team versus a Pac-12 team. I have Texas versus Washington. Yes, Washington is 10-2. They're a really good team. So, but there will be a lot of Longhorns fans because it's at San Antonio. So, but it'll be a fun game to watch at the Alamodome. In the Duke's Mayo Bowl, I have Louisville from the ACC taking on Iowa from the Big Ten. This is another game that could go either way. It's like a coin flip. So yeah, this is a weird name, Duke's Mayo Bowl. So we shall find out. In the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville, Florida, I have NC State taking on Kentucky. They both had a pretty good year, considering how tough their schedule has been all year. So this is another game that could go either way. Now we are into the New Year's 6 games, starting with the Orange Bowl. We got two orange teams, right? Clemson from the ACC taking on Tennessee from the SEC. Two orange teams in the Orange Bowl. Perfect. What more could you ask for? In the All-State Sugar Bowl, since Alabama, but I think that Alabama's not going to make the CFP, that means they're going to be in the Sugar Bowl, so that's why I picked them in this to take on Kansas State, who won their Big 12 championship game in overtime by just a field goal. So this, if Alabama doesn't make the playoff, they will most likely make this because Tennessee is in the Orange Bowl. So yeah, Kansas State, you're gonna be in this game no matter what. So this is gonna be a tough one because it's the SEC, toughest conference in football. Do y'all remember this bowl game, the Outback Bowl? Yeah, it's no longer called that. They have a different name, but it's at the same stadium. It's called the Relia Quest Bowl, or Relia Quest Bowl. I've never heard of what that is, but it's an SEC team versus a Big Ten team. So I have Mississippi State taking on the runner-up of the Big Ten championship game, the Purdue Boilermakers. This will be an interesting matchup if it happens. But look, Outback Bowl from 1986 to 2021. 35 years they had this Outback Bowl sponsorship, but now they got rid of it and it's something else. It's kind of weird, but it is what it is. In the Citrus Bowl, I have North Carolina, the runner-up of the ACC championship game, to take on the Ole Miss Rebels in Orlando. These two teams are pretty good. Used to be in the top 25, but now they're just outside of the top 25 because they both lost their last game of the regular season. So why not have these two teams play each other? It'll be pretty good if that happens. Back to the New Year's 6 games, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Tulane, they're going to be in this. And they're going to be taking on USC. Since USC is not going to be in the CFP, and they also didn't win their conference, so they're not in the Rose Bowl. That's why they're in the Cotton Bowl instead. And Tulane won their conference in the All-American. They beat UCF in a rematch at their home stadium. So Tulane, this is a great year for them. Obviously, they'll be a big underdog in this match because USC's ranked a lot higher. But anything can happen. Upsets can happen, you know. A lot of upsets can happen in bowl games, and that's what makes it fun. So, very, very interesting matchup right here. And the last New Year's Six game, the Rose Bowl. Pac-12 team versus Big Ten team. Utah is back in the Rose Bowl for the second straight year because they won their conference championship. And they'll be taking on Penn State. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get this one right. Now, here's where it depends, because Penn State, they usually take the best Big Ten team in the Rose Bowl, but because Michigan is in the playoff, they're going to have to take the second best Big Ten team, and that's Ohio State. But Ohio State will be in the playoff, most likely. It depends on what the committee's decision is. If they are in the playoff, that means they'll go to the third best team in the Big Ten, and that's Penn State. So, if Alabama makes the Final Four instead of Ohio State, then Ohio State will be in this Rose Bowl game against Utah in a rematch from last year's Rose Bowl game, which Ohio State won in a very close, high-scoring game. Have y'all noticed the Rose Bowl is usually a high-scoring game? Kind of. So, it might be another one this year. And that is it for my Dream Bowl game matchups. I hope you guys like them, and maybe some of you guys probably agree with me on this. If not, let me know in the comments. The last thing we're going to talk about is the semifinals of the playoff. Here we go. And here's what I have. We have the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl. These are the two semifinal games in the playoff. So I have Georgia playing Ohio State in the Peach Bowl, and Michigan playing against TCU in the Fiesta Bowl. So it's usually, because, you know, the past two times they've had the playoff in the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl was 2019 and 2016. So yeah, every 3 years they rotate them, you know. So we'll have this again in 2025. Now here's the thing with Georgia. They've played against Oregon this season in their first game, and that was in Atlanta, home of the Falcons. And they crushed Oregon. And they just recently played in the SEC Championship game, which is also in Atlanta, and they won that game easily. So they're going to be staying in Atlanta, most likely. And I'm sure they'll be a huge favorite against Ohio State. So they're going to have 3 games there. Unless if somehow they decide to have Georgia versus Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl and Michigan versus TCU in the Peach Bowl. We'll see, though. But the Peach Bowl is usually first. Fiesta Bowl is second. So, this is what I have. 1 versus 4 in the Peach Bowl and 2 versus 3 in the Fiesta Bowl. So, like I said, I want Alabama to be in the Final Four because I would laugh and I would love to read the hate comments and stuff. So if Alabama were to be in the playoff, they'll play against Georgia in the Peach Bowl, and Ohio State will be playing in the Rose Bowl against Utah for the 2nd straight year. Now the question is, who will play against Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl if Alabama is in the playoff? Because if Alabama isn't in the playoff, they'll be in the Sugar Bowl against Kansas State. So let me look at the standings and see who the 3rd best team is, because Tennessee is the 2nd best team in the SEC. They're in the Orange Bowl. Oh wait, no, technically they're the 3rd best team because they have a lower ranking than Alabama, so I apologize about that. If Alabama's in the playoff, the 4th best team in the SEC, I guess it's LSU, even though they got crushed by Georgia. Yeah, it's gonna have to be LSU. LSU versus Kansas State again, because they played each other last year in the Texas Bowl. I don't know if they want to have that again. Maybe South Carolina. Maybe. I don't know. But that's kind of how it usually is in the All-State Sugar Bowl, where they'll have a great SEC team play in the playoff, or excuse me, the Sugar Bowl. I'm sorry if I sound different because I am really, really tired, because this took a long time to make this video and put all the pictures in the screen and delete them and more pictures, you know. That's the worst part about making this video, because it takes so long. But I got through it. I got through it here, so yeah. Speaking of LSU, I did not mention what game they'll play against. What if they play against Florida State again? Who knows? That could happen. I don't think it will, but because they play each other this year. I did not mention Oregon either. Maybe LSU can play against Oregon. It's possible. Or maybe Florida State can play Oregon. I don't know, but it's hard to... I picked as many bowl games as I can. There's so many. Like I've only done like what, half of them, which is still a lot, 20, because I think there's like 40 or 41 bowl games total. So I think that's pretty much it. By the time you watch this, you will know what the rankings will be and what bowl games they'll have. So we are 2 weeks away. We're just under 2 weeks away from the beginning of Bowl Mania, so maybe in a week from now I will do my prediction video, because oh my gosh, a lot of years I do my Bowl Mania prediction video very late, like probably like the day before the first game starts. Yeah, that's how late I am. I'm gonna try not to wait until the last day to do it. It's always better to do it like maybe like a week in advance, so that you'll have time to change your picks before the first few games will start. So anyway, I think that's it. Let me know what y'all think of my predictions and dream bowl game matchups. So yeah. Until then, guys, that'll be it. Have a great rest of your day.